Welcome, everyone,
meeting.
to the June 9th, 2021 meeting of the School Building Committee. I don't see the mayor in attendance yet. I assume he will want me to preside as co-chair. So because Jeremy is otherwise occupied tonight, City Council, I guess I'll have to call the roll too to establish the quorum. So I'll start off with Dave Sawyer.
Jack, he's not going to be able to attend unless we absolutely need him for a quorum.
Okay, I think we have a quorum. Jason Parento.
He should be signing on any minute.
Okay, we'll skip him for the moment. Lori Reagan.
She will not be here.
Okay. Jackie.
Here.
Okay. Jerry.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Bill.
I'm here.
Terry.
Here.
Scott. I know
Sorry,
you-
here.
Yeah. Ed's here. In the room with me. Mark.
Here.
Rob Geddes. Hearing nothing. Steve Withers, I know is not here. Mike Tyler.
Here.
Andrew. Hearing nothing. Gail.
Here.
I'm here. Mayor, have you joined? Guess not. What about Jason Parento? Did Jason join? All right, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 11. So therefore we have a quorum, so we can begin. And the first order of business, as always, is the May 12th minutes. All had a chance to review those. Is there a motion, Jackie?
Move to approve.
Terry?
Second,
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll call the roll for approval. Jackie?
Yes.
Jerry? Jerry?
I'm sorry, yes, I was on mute.
Okay. Kelly?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Terry?
yes,
Scott?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I can see Andrew has joined us. So let me add him, and Andrew, and Jason has joined us. So we'll start with Jason. We were just voting and the mayor's joined us. Excellent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 14 now. Jason, we're voting on the minutes. Are you in favor?
Yes.
And Andrew
Yes.
and Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so that passes unanimously. All right, then we want to move along. We'll skip the bills for now as usual, and Steve Johnson.
That's construction update.
Please.
Okay, share my screen. We'll go to. All right, so south elevation. Major changes since last month is just continued installation of block and brick on the exterior. So you'll see a lot more down at the lower level here on both sides of the building, especially around this area. It's hard to see from this view, but this entire wing of the building has staging all around it. There's block and brick in progress there. The other updates since last month are This, if we zoom in here, the gray here is actually the finished metal panel. So if we're looking just at this view, we've got finished brick, finished windows, finished metal panel here, finished roof. So this is coming along nicely. We are also doing, whoops, metal panels over on A building. Same thing here. Finished windows, finished metal panels, and finished brick. Other major items, we'll go to a different elevation. This is the front view. A lot more glass has been installed since last month, especially in this main entrance area here. And the white, anything you see is white is snap covers and finished trim on the curtain wall and the storefront down below. So that's more of a finished product as well. So making pretty good progress on that. And then we're also starting to do some site work. You can actually see a little bit in this picture here, the curve, the future Blue Pride Way here is starting to take shape. That'll be a major focus. The entire front site work here will be a major focus this summer and early fall here. We'll jump to a different view, different elevation. A lot more finished brick has been installed, and these are finished windows. This brick section is done, I believe last month. It was obstructed by staging. So this is finished up and looking good. A lot of good progress in the loading dock area. Jump to a different view. Inside, this is the 4th floor. Again, the area that's the most far along from a construction viewpoint. If we zoom in here, this is actually finished tile on the wall. I know it's hard to see from this view, but that's finished tile. So a lot of that is going in. You'll see some of the accent walls being painted now. Door frames are being painted. This wood, obviously not a finished product, but that's prepping for the millwork that's going to go and surround these. And then if we jump into, this is the mock-up classroom. We've got more things in the ceiling that might not be obvious, but there's more finishes, more mechanical finishes that have been installed in the ceiling. There's some light fixtures that have gone in, and we have some, it's hard to see here, but the wood sills went in at the windows. A lot of the casework is in. Excuse the rest of the mess in here. But next steps would be to finish out the mechanical finishes that go in the ceiling, and then we'll put all the ceiling tile in and then move on to installing the floor in both this classroom mock-up and across the hall in the lab mock-up. This is a view from the 2nd story looking at the collaboration stair. And there's a lot of framing that has been installed all throughout the 2nd floor. I think it was fairly open when we had our last tour, but now you can really see all the rooms taking shape when you walk around there. It's starting to get a little more crowded, a little more finished, which is great for us. Then we sneak down. This is the 1st floor, the future marketplace. So if you're standing looking down here at the future cafe space and cosmetology and the print shop and the bank are all along here. So obviously all the framing is in, doing a lot of the mechanical roughing, both above the ceiling and within the walls. And then this is a lot more blocks been installed. This is the future automotive area. So block on all 4 sides here has been installed. A little bit in progress here on the north side and the west side here, but all the block walls are in progress on the 1st floor down in the CTE spaces. And then I just wanted to grab the only other exciting thing is I'm not sure if it's on here, but we poured more of the auditorium space. That was the last section that we had to pour concrete slabs on. So there's a little bit in section E. I actually want to show this view too, even though this is pretty crowded. This is the gym, but we're hopefully by early next week, we are completely poured out in the auditorium and the last section of the cafeteria space. So this is the gym. So all the block walls are going around the perimeter of the gym space and in the locker rooms back here. So you walk down to the first floor, all you see is staging is block everywhere. So that's good progress for us. And this is the last section here of concrete slab that was going to be tomorrow, but we bumped it to early next week. So we're going to capture this and the last piece of the auditorium. Work just continues, finish spaces 4 through 1, and then as you can see with the block down on the first floor. So that's the major activities from a schedule perspective. Still on schedule, still under budget. A lot of activity. We're up to probably like 170 is the manpower roughly on average these days. And that's the major highlights. If anyone has questions.
The boiler room is always impressive. Do you have a picture of that handy?
I don't have it handy, Jack, and my computer's awfully slow. So maybe if
Okay.
we continue, I'll go back to it.
That's okay. So from this morning's meeting, I understand that we are on track to fully enclose the building approximately November 1st, correct?
Yeah, early November would be, majority of the glass. We, things like high traffic areas like this main entrance where we have plywood doors, we wouldn't install just to keep them in good condition and free from damage. But a lot of, the south side, we should have this enclosed and all this on the back side, Jack. So yeah, that's the goal. If you zoom in here, they're starting, I should have pointed this out earlier. This is the clear story frames. Window frames are going in on the east side, and the west side are available as well. They'll start those. So those will be fully enclosed and glazed in the next month or so. And a lot more, and most of the metal panels should be done by then as well, Jack.
Okay. And then I also understand that we're on track for June 16th, 2022 for a temporary certificate of occupancy. That's at least our goal right now, correct?
Correct. Still on track.
Excellent.
I got a question, Steve. The area where you've put in the metal panels, is that
Yep.
section now 100% complete?
I believe there's some caulking that needs to be completed, Jerry, and then there's some finish flashing up at the roof level that has to be tied in. But Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, but from an aesthetic point of view, from the outside of the building, look at it from here, yeah, most of the finishes are in.
No, so they do have to go
Yeah,
back.
you're correct, Steve. And aesthetically, it looks very nice.
Are you disavowing your design, Craig?
Joe designed this part of it.
So and then one other thing, my understanding is, I don't remember if we just, Bill may have brought this up last time, but we're talking about designating the semicircle in front of the building, Blue Pride Way, as a public way. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it occurred to me that in order to do that, and I think Mike Tyler had some participation in looking at this as well, would we then need Joe to prepare a Chapter 82 plan to present to the council to have that accepted as a public way? I don't know if Joe's with us.
So Jack, I can talk about that for a second if you wish.
Sure, Mike.
So there's a couple logistical concerns about this. I brought these requests up to all the department heads that would have a vested interest in this being named Blue Pride Way. I think all of those questions that were asked have been answered. It wouldn't necessarily, we would want the city council to accept it as a roadway, but we would not want to be accepted as a public roadway, i.e. Putting in front of the state for Chapter 90 funding, only because it's maintained by the schools. So that's kind of just a little logistical thing, if you will. So we would want it officially accepted by the city council as Blue Pride Way, but we would not be filling out the paperwork for the state asking for that to be an improved roadway in the city of Attleboro. So there's a little bit of difference there. We don't seek funding for roadways that we don't maintain. That kind of goes against the rules of Mass DOT. But it seems like the chief just brought up a couple other concerns to me that I'm currently looking into. But it seems like we're probably about 90% in allowing this to be, presenting to the city council that this be accepted as a public way, but realistically only for ceremonial purposes only, where the actual letterhead of Attleboro High School would say One Blue Pride Way, and it would also be entered into the 911 system for the state as One Blue Pride Way, just in case, Lord forbid, if there was ever something that happened over there. And that also being, if somebody were to have an event over there and put onto their phone that they want to get to One Blue Pride Way in Attleboro, that is not familiar that we have a new high school, would actually be directed to the site.
Yeah. So Jack, did you ask me something? I'm sorry. I was on my phone. I have someone at my house trying to fix my furnace.
Well, that's certainly important, but
It's yeah, there's no AC without the furnace.
oh, that's really important.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
what I was saying was, and I'd like some input from Mike Tyler and maybe Mayor, we need to speak to Gary Arasian about this, but we will probably need some sort of a plan, a Chapter 82 type plan, in order to have that One Blue Pride Way address on a public way.
And to go back to what Mike was saying, if it's not going to be accepted as an official public way, does that actually go through the city council for that kind of approval, or how do we do that? Because you want to basically transfer this from, well, it's on city land, right? So it doesn't make a difference, but is it?
If it's like the naming of a park, or if it's the naming of a building, that can falls under the jurisdiction of the mayor. And, we don't need to go to the council to name things. But if, as Mike was saying, it wants to be recognized by 911.
Post office.
Yeah, the post office. That probably, that may need it. I'm not, this is kind of a gray area.
So rather than waste everyone's time tonight, I'm sorry I brought it up. My suggestion is that Mike and the mayor and I should talk with Gary Arasian. We should figure out what the process is. And then if we need something from KBA, we'll ask you, Joe.
Yeah, Mike, is it really just the issue that we don't want to take possession of it through the city and the DPW because of the maintenance issue that really should be going through the district?
No, Joe. There's plenty of roadways in Attleboro that are not formally accepted by Mass DOT standards. So in other words, we're not seeking funding from Mass DOT to maintain that road.
Right.
So we'd be basically accepting the roadway, but we would not be filing the paperwork with Mass DOT asking for funds for maintenance of the roadway, specifically because we don't maintain that roadway. That would be, the property of the school to do. So when I say more ceremonial, this has to do with a lot of roadways in Attleboro where they're accepted by the city. They're just not accepted under Mass DOT standards for funding.
Okay, but they can still be an official address, like the school would want to have this as One Blue Pride Way. It still can say that on a map.
Absolutely. I've been through all the channels now. We're about 95% there. I'm just trying to answer a couple of questions from the chief. It's more logistic because right now, my department is in charge of the addressing of all buildings in the city of Attleboro. So once we, put a number to this building, then we want to make sure that is involved in the 911 system.
Sure.
And that is in the state GIS system, which, so now if anybody on their phone were to punch in One Blue Pride Way, they know exactly where they're going.
Right.
So it's just, it's more logistical than it is anything, but I mean, we're 95% there, and I'm almost positive this thing is going to go without a hitch. We just want to make sure that we're answering everybody's questions.
Was there anything official where the eastern driveway over near the Sweet Forest was noted as Blue Pride Way? Was that actually also an official name for that? Or is that was just something that we called it, that road right there?
I can comment on that.
Mm,
That was just a sign that the former mayor had made at my request, just for us to be
Okay.
able to not only show some school spirit, but to at least give some folks when we would talk to them on the phone, or we would send them an email, just to try to give them a sense of where the principal's office was located.
yeah.
Because as we all know, it's a very amorphous building, and when you go to the front of it, you're technically at the superintendent's office.
Right. I just want to be sure it wasn't an existing Blue Pride Way that we have to move.
Nope.
It's actually not actually, it's just a sign, but it's not actually like that on the map or with the post office, right?
Right.
Okay.
It doesn't show up on GPS or
Mhm.
anything like that.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
what I'll do, Joe, is
Mhm.
I'll coordinate with the
Gary.
mayor, with Gary Arasian, and
Mhm.
with Mike, and we'll figure out what type of documentation we need, and whether the
Sure.
city council needs to take a vote, and just how to get that done legally. Because we're a year away from needing that designation, but the year can slip by quickly.
Yes. Oh, certainly. Yeah. Yeah. So just let me know. We'll certainly happy to do that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anybody have any other questions for Steve on the update?
So actually, Jack, I have a couple.
Sure, Mike.
So Steve, thanks very much for the presentation and making great headway. I mean, it's kind of astounding. Just a couple of concerns that I've heard. People have talked about how long it's going to take for the demolition, but I think if you went actually back to slide 1, where it actually shows the back of the building that abuts the current pool, I mean, that kind of explains why the demolition is something that's going to take a lot of thought and a lot of process to make sure it's done properly. So there's just been people that said, it seems like there's, once the school's built, there's quite a long time in between the demolition of the current school and the building of the new school. So I think that slide kind of showed it all. I mean, that's how close we are to
Like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, and Mike, if I can jump in, it not only is it that, but there's a process where we have to go through and remove all the hazardous materials in the building as well. So it's not like day one we can just take the wrecking ball to it and make it rubble. You know what I mean? There's a process we have to go through and abate first, and then demo the building. And don't forget that time frame also includes creating all the new fields that are going to sit here. It's not just demo.
And the
Parking
new
lots.
bus,
Yep.
the new bus loop, the new parking lots
Mhm.
for the staff, for the students, the photovoltaic array that goes over one of those parking lots, the removal of the tennis courts that we're looking at, the construction of the new ones. So there's still an awful lot of work to do even after the first day of school, right, Steve?
100%. Yep. So this is the future bus loop right here. So
Not quite ready for occupancy.
no, well, and when we first open up, well, I don't want to get into too much here, but the access will be different. And then because permanent access comes right where the existing school is, and then and we're going to demo right where it says Blue Pride here, the small gym and the pool building first, and then we're going to try and start from this corner and work our way southeast here to allow to get the permanent bus access through. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts starting April 1st of next year.
And we don't want to get too far into it, Mike, but one of the things that we're doing at the Wednesday group now is starting to look at the logistics of all of the things that were just described, looking at target dates, looking at access routes, looking at the changing of construction fencing. And we're probably a month or 2 or 3 away from being ready to, present that to this group. We don't want to say too much, but that planning is ongoing. Correct, Steve?
Yeah, has been and continues. Yeah, it's a day by day issue that we constantly are looking at.
Have
Yes.
some other questions, Mike?
No, I thank you both, but I think the point I was trying to get to is that once we're closer to the completion, I think that we have to emphasize to the public of how much work actually still has to be done, because it's just like when somebody builds a new house. I mean, as soon as the new house is built, well, how come the lawn's not established? How come it's not? So, there is a process, and this one has very logistic concerns to that. So I just think as the closer we get to completion, we need to emphasize to the public of what these situations are that are going to, partake over a certain amount of time to get to that completion, because it's like we spent so long to do something. Now all of a sudden it seems like we're not at the end stage yet. So I just think it's important that we notify the public of that when we get to a closer completion stage.
It's a great point, Mike, because typically once we sweep through here and have this elevation finished, people are like, all right, how come you're not done yet? Not realizing everything that's inside.
Sure. My second question was kind of I heard from a couple individuals. There was concerns now that there's doing interior work on the, seems like when they're finishing up the classrooms, the current plumbing shop, CT plumbing shop, had model apartments that were built by volunteers. Are those model apartments still included in the layout of the plumbing?
Meaning, will they be able to do that same type of work in the new plumbing shop?
I'll talk to that if you would like. We will not be bringing those over specifically, Mike, but we have reconstructed them to meet the building code and current standards from a overall egress and safety standpoint. So yes, they'll be the same, but in a different kind of scenario.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I mean, I can imagine now we're probably talking, there might be steel stud instead of the current wooden stud and something along that line where before it required a fire suppressor system that was not available.
Correct. That's exactly what I was saying as we made it. We had to do it as part of non-combustible construction of the school.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. And thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, Jack, just one. And I know we kind of touch on this in most of these meetings. And when we give updates at school committee, we kind of give the same updates. But Steve, I know that we've been pretty smart about getting materials ahead of time. Is there any worry points at this point with, as we're starting to get more inside the building and doing inside finishing? Are there any concerns about the availability of materials we may need?
Yep, great question. Worry points, moderately. So 2 jump out right now. One is locker materials for 2 reasons. One, we had a spike in pricing, and then we are actually shifting gears with the manufacturer that we were originally scheduled to use, because not only did they increase their pricing, but their lead times have increased, and we are no longer getting the warm and fuzzies that they'll meet our schedule. But shifting to a different manufacturer that KBA has already looked at and approved and was in the spec is definitely going to help that. So that worry hopefully is going to get crossed off the list soon. And the other minor worry right now that we're just getting wind of is some of the gym flooring and stage flooring for a few reasons. One, there's a manufacturer in Canada that has been shut down due to COVID related issues that hasn't opened up back yet. And then also FSC wood, forestry certified wood, for the lead purpose of establishing the lead credits here is extremely difficult to come by in certain timbers and certain types. So we're handling that. We're going through that right now with those two suppliers. That one's not, we're not in panic yet on that one because we fortunately do have some time. And it's not that it doesn't exist. It's just another item that has a potential much longer lead time than we're used to. Other than that, some of the finishes that aren't in yet, a lot of the flooring is already at the subcontractors' facilities, so it's already been secured. Other items like, you know, auditorium seats, we literally just went through a whole round this past week of checking in with all of our subcontractors on these materials, and nothing else is out of the ordinary or unavailable at this time, but we constantly monitor it, both from a project level and a national level and a company level. So to answer your question with a long-winded answer, right now, I think it would just be the stage and the gym flooring issue that we're worried or a little nervous about right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Steve, where do you want to go next?
How about change order number 9?
Okay,
Okay, so change order number 9 has several GCRs. I will buzz through them quickly. GCR 003, this is an old one. PR 35, it's the bus loop site wall revision. So we deleted some field stone, added some architectural features, and this is the wall that eventually will be engraved at the back of the building. So those revisions came in at $1,663.27. GCR 018, ductwork revisions for exhaust hoods. So these were vent hoods that were required in the teaching rooms. That is $19,166.12. GCR 058, additional electrical requirements for professional development. This was an owner request to add some outlets. That is $3,109.79. GCR 60, ASI 077, and a few RFIs. Just added power to things like toilets, faucets, some controllers, and the fire curtain. So that is $11,258.90. GCR 062, PR 62 is an added ice maker per the owner in room D203L. That is $11,179.43. GCR 069 were revisions to add some power and data to coordinate with the FF&E. That is $4,626.70. GCR 072, BMS integration with water heaters. So that's some added alarm points for the building management system. $8,193.44. And the last one, GCR 077, paint exposed structure and MEPs at the collaboration spaces. So this was something because the painter is a public bid subcontractor, was something that wasn't 100% clear in the drawings that they needed to paint it. So that is $4,065.50. Grand total for GCR 09 or GCO 09, $63,263.15.
okay. Does anybody have any questions for Steve on those items?
So I will point out that as always with any change orders or contingency transfers, they've all been fully vetted by Consigli, KBA, Skanska, any of the consultants required. We're at a point that we're all in an agreement on them.
And you had given us a preview on all of these in the past.
Yes.
So, okay, any questions for Steve? Then I think in order to avoid too many roll call votes, if anyone doesn't have a problem, we could move on to the contingency transfers.
Yep.
And perhaps take care of all of that in one vote?
Sure, we have three of those. GCT 020, sinks at ACA and network rooms. So this was a misbuy on the drawings. Epoxy in one space, stainless in the other. So neither subcontractor owned it, so we needed to buy it out with someone. We changed them to stainless steel. So that total is $3,832.72. Next item, GCT 021 is temporary water usage. So that's just an overrun on what was budgeted based on all the temp water that we've needed from everything from dust control to masonry to you name it, filling pipes. So there's an overage there of $7,658.49. And then GCT 023, this is coordination on the location for the power controller for the sump pumps at the elevator, moving from third floor to first floor. So that's a coordination item, $1,264.75. That's all we're seeking approval for.
And do we have
this
we have a
month.
grand total on that?
Once I do some math, yes. It is. Oops. 3. I mean, this is must-see TV, right? Watching a guy do math.
Yeah.
It is $12,755.96.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on those three? Hearing none, then a motion is in order to approve change order 9 and the contingency transfer of those 3 items.
Move to approve both items.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, then we'll proceed to vote on both of them. Jason?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mark? Mark? Not
We
hearing.
lost them.
Mike?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Jack, I was stuck. I vote yes too.
Okay, thank you. So that's unanimous. That takes care of those 2 items. Steve, anything new for the change order log?
Yes, there's a handful of new ones that, again, we're not at a point to present. We're still vetting them out as a team here, but I will go through the issues with you and where we currently are with pricing. Item 76 is sidewalk revisions at the north end of the existing Rathman Willard Drive. That is $45,442.54.
Is this, when you say the north end, are you talking about the north end of the southern piece?
I'm sorry, not the north, the south side.
Oh.
Yep, flip myself. So it's kind
By
of
Studley School.
It's by Studley School and near the football stadium.
Right, and so these were some additions to the sidewalks that are necessary to connect what's there to what we will have with the new school. And I believe that Mike Tyler brought this to our attention, that this was something that was absolutely needed for safety. And so I think we're being asked as a group to approve that, and not tonight, but we're at least getting a preview that this is the number that would be required. It will not be reimbursable by the MSBA because it's considered off-site, but it is certainly in my mind, an important safety issue to make sure that we have continuous sidewalks on both sides of Rathbun Willard Drive, because they, not only is it Studley, but it's also the area that leads into Brennan as well as the high school. So it's a significant item.
Yeah, so this would be to demo what is there, remove it, add a new sub base, and then new concrete sidewalk and granite curbing.
With the appropriate handicap ramps and other items that are necessary.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that one?
So Jack, I'd just like to explain a little further, even though I think you did a great job trying to explain that.
Well, you know, Mike, I'm a lawyer and you're a guy who actually constructs things. So please help this group.
Right. So just so the school building commission realizes what's happening here, we have kind of two conflicting jobs. We have a new high school being built that's going to encumber a certain section of Rathburn Willard Drive. In the city of Attleboro, since they've been notified that we're going to reopen Rathburn Willard Drive, wants to put a traffic signal up at the intersection of Rathburn Willard Drive and Thatcher Street. And unfortunately, between the limits of both of our jobs, there's what we'll call a gray area. So it was originally outside the limits of the new high school, and it's kind of outside the limits of the planned new traffic lights at Rathburn Willard and Thatcher. So that's the area that we're talking about here. And I respectfully ask that the commission does approve it when we get to that stage. And the rationale being, we've seeked all types of funding for these new set of traffic lights. We have not received funding to date. We still have a couple, hopefully, funding sources out there. But the mayor in agreement that this is a vital project and a safety concern for the city of Attleboro, along with the city council, knows that there's a need for a traffic light here. So the mayor has gracefully put $1 million aside for this project of installing these new traffic lights. $1 million looks like a lot of money. I mean, it was probably a lot of money when we first started talking about it 4 years ago. Since then, the prices have gone up on almost everything in the field. So we're kind of worried about, I think we got plenty enough money to do the traffic light itself, but the needed improvements we wanted to do on the sidewalks and the roadway leading into there, we are very worried about whether or not we're going to be able to fulfill that obligation. So I think by approving this, and it's actually a very good price, I was very surprised by the price. So thank you, Steve, and everybody else. I mean, I think this is a great benefit. I don't think that even the city of Attleboro, if I were to use my contractors, we could put these sidewalks in for the amount of money that's being proposed to us. And I think it just makes us a little bit easier knowing that at least now we've taken care of that sidewalk almost all the way to the second entrance of Studley Elementary. And that's important. So we're going to do our due diligence, but I do think that this is I don't like adding to any funds that are not reimbursable, but I do think this is a good use of this account.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody have any? Steve is helping us. So Steve, you can just point out there with your arrow where we're talking about.
I believe it comes up to right about here, Joe. Is that correct? Oh, I'm on mute. Nope, I'm not on mute. Sorry.
No, it's
Right about here and then across.
yeah, it's the crosswalk that will go across to the curb cut at Studley at the very corner of the driveway where your cursor is. So
Right.
it's about 200 linear feet, but right there from where we're stopping the project up above there. Yeah.
Down to here.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe, if I can intervene on that, he's a little too far. He's at Brennan right now. It's actually kind of taking place a little further down the road.
Well, it goes down to the on the west side. It goes down to the curve at the driveway where
that's correct.
Where the crosswalk is.
Yep.
Yeah, you're in the Brennan driveway. Mike's right there. No. Down the street. Go. No, that's the driveway. The other way. Other way. Keep going. There you go. So see the car? See the crosswalk? Go a little further down. A little further down, there's a near the driveway to go into Studley. Up in the
Yeah.
picture, right there. There you go.
Yeah.
That's right there is where it goes across. Yes.
Right, that's where we start.
So the existing sidewalk is in really poor condition. And so they felt that having the ability to walk for walkers down that street to get to Studley was important. And so it's going from basically where we're going to end the new construction at the Brennan driveway, where that gets reconstructed down to that point. It's about 200 linear feet, and that's where that would be.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sure. Was an adventure.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions on this particular item? Somebody,
Yeah, Bill, you'll go ahead and go first.
Okay. I don't think the hand raise feature must be working. But I wanted to thank Mike. He held a meeting with me and the principals from both Brennan and Studley, and was, very sensitive to their concerns about that portion of the sidewalk. And I was concerned about it from a safety standpoint, but also I was concerned about it from an aesthetics perspective as well. So I just wanted to thank Mike for that.
okay. Mayor, did you have something?
Yeah, the question I had is Mike and I had a meeting with his engineer for the traffic lights at Thatcher Street and Rathmiller Drive. One of the questions that came up a number of times was, why don't we just have the Rathmiller extension be for security only, not allowing people to travel down Rathmiller from Thatcher Street behind us onto Rome Boulevard? I know there was a good reason for why we wanted to leave it open to the public, instead of just security vehicles, to decrease the amount of traffic that's going to pour out onto Thatcher Street from Rathman Willard. But what was the reason for that? I don't remember what to tell people. And Mike, you probably remember that part of that discussion we had last week. A lot of people wanted to know what that was all about. But what were the reasons? I just can't remember.
I can address that, I think. Right now, if you want to get to Brennan from the northern end, you have to go through County Square.
Yeah, okay.
And if you want to get to Studley from the same way, you have to go through County Square. If you want to get to the high school from South Attleboro, you have to go through County Square. So it was meant to, for certainly the police chief and fire chief were concerned about access, and that was important. But I think the taking traffic out of County Square and relieving traffic there and allowing people to directly get to all three schools was an important factor in when we first considered this a number of years ago. I don't know if anybody has anything else to add to that.
Yeah,
That's what I recall also, Jack.
That's what I seem to remember. I wasn't sure if there was more to it than that, but that was, I'll communicate that back to the neighborhood. I think the neighbors, they were certainly a lively group, but they, I think they felt like the needs of everybody else, except people who live off of Black Oak and Greenbrier, were being taken into consideration, and it's just going to dump a lot of traffic onto them. I think, as we're looking at a whole citywide, I think you're right. This just makes traffic better in the whole region rather than, causing a lot of headaches for them. Well, thank you. So I just wanted to know what I should say, and that's kind of what I remembered, but I wasn't sure if there's more to it than that. So,
I think it was also that when you look at the group of schools as a campus, that you should be able to enter the campus and go to the different schools without having to drive, as Jack said, all the way around like you do now to get from one school to the other. And by having this as a public way, you're allowed to do that. You're right. We did talk about this a long time ago about the need for emergency vehicles to get through there, because it really is a real long way for them to go. But I think in the end, it was decided that being available to the public was really a benefit to the school grouping of the different buildings.
okay. Very good. Thank you.
And that also contributed to the decision to put the traffic circle in at the intersection of Rome, Rathbun Willard, North, South, and Drummond was as a traffic calming measure to slow traffic down. So that played a role in that as well.
Right, and if I could just add to that, and I think I stated at the meeting that night, and I'm glad the mayor brought it out because we want to make sure that we're able to answer the residents of that area that are going to be affected the most, as truthfully as we can. But anybody that would say that there's not an existing problem there has never been to that intersection. Never mind just when school's in session, but I mean, these schools are basically the schools are not 7 to 3. They're community centers. These schools are used at all times of the day. And as somebody had both of my kids go through Studley and Brennan, I know you kind of take your life in your own hands. So when we're trying to design something, and even though, of course, public safety is number one, we're trying to fix as many problems that exist as we can, because it's been my experience that if you just try to fix one problem at a time without looking at the whole overall problem, you're going to just create confusion as you try to change that through the years. So if we were not to put it through and then all of a sudden we realize we got too much congestion, so now we're going to open it. It's just been, it's been my thing through the years that you watch people where if you make these changes with enough foresight to try to relieve as many problems as you can, that people will get used to that. It's only when you keep changing the traffic pattern to them and keep trying to adjust to a problem that you didn't figure on or didn't figure into the equation that causes confusion. So that's just my kind of take on that. But and I know that certain residents in the area are not going to actually believe that, but that's just my take.
Okay. Any other kind of questions or comments on this issue? Then I guess, Steve, we'll go back to your presentation.
Yep. I'll go quick. There's just a few others. Item 77, paint exposed structure and MEPs at collaboration spaces. Again, this was the labeling thing on the drawings that we're working through with the painting subcontractor. Right now, it's
Steve, I think we just voted to approve that one.
Yes, we did. Damn it, Jack, you're right. Yep. Yeah. Moving on. Item 79, distribution boxes at VRF lines. So this is in lieu of pitch pockets so that we maintain the warranty at the roof. We just got this information for working with KBA. So we're vetting this one out with our roofing subcontractor and electrical subcontractor. Number on it now is $70,341, but as not final. That's an estimate at this point. Item 80, window retesting back charge. So we did have a window fail, but it was a flashing issue, and not so much the construction of the actual window itself. It's the flashing beneath the window that had to be repaired by the window sub and then retested.
It was a water test. I think that's important to know.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. 81, wireless access point revisions. So this is per Jeremy from the school, their IT director. The manufacturer originally selected is, I believe Jeremy's having some issues with their product and their service. So want to switch horses there and go with a different manufacturer. So we're pricing that out. Estimate $43,286. And then the last item is just something we're reviewing with KBA in the masonry sub. Ground face CMU grout color change. Again, it's an estimate right now of $10,821. It might be something that we're going to be able to squash with the sub, but we're going through it and working with Craig on that one.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on this portion?
So Steve, just a quick question. When I kind of get nervous when they're talking about roof drains and when we already had approved stormwater permit issue for this job. It doesn't change any of the stormwater implications of the permit when you're talking about kind
No.
of, I don't know how it, you kind of didn't touch on it enough where it doesn't redesign it, or is it?
These are penetrations through the roof, Mike,
Okay,
and how the detail is where the roofing flashes around it to make it watertight.
oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you, Steve. So that's
Yep.
totally different what I was thinking of. Thank you.
Yep. No, I should have given more input on that.
Yeah, so if I understand you correctly, Steve, this is the way that we get the water off the roof, not the amount of water, correct?
Correct. It's just when there's a penetration, so there isn't a leak at the penetration.
Okay. Any other questions on this? All right, where do you want to go next, Steve? Is there?
I want to turn my camera off and go home. No, I'm good. That's everything that I had, unless someone else has questions.
Okay, so would it be Anjanette then that we would go to next?
Please share my screen with you guys. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this month, we have an invoice for Skanska for our services, UPM services, and it is for $98,550. Castle Booze has submitted an invoice for their services for $110,515. Consigli's requisition for all of the subcontract work, including some of the change order work, would total the $7,017,234.79. There were some miscellaneous city expenses that were submitted this month as well. There are a few more than what's shown on the meeting minutes. I'm just catching up. These were for some of the Briggs invoices. They do our material testing on site. Also, the window testing Intertech. It was for an invoice there, and then also an invoice from STV DPM. They're our move management group, and then some FedEx and a couple of miscellaneous items, and so that totals $19,969.19. So in total, all of the invoices would total $7,246,269, and that is not that does include retainage. And in Jeremy's total for Consigli's, their value would be the amount certified, which is the $6,666,532.60. So overall, at this point, we are 51% complete in our billing, and we have a remaining balance of $126,667,615 left to bill.
So you're saying there are a few bills that didn't make it onto our agenda that you're recommending for payment?
Well, they were previously approved on Jeremy's agenda, but didn't make it into my worksheet. Usually I send over the spreadsheet that I put together, and anything that's on here has already been approved. And I can, I've shared that with Jeremy, and he can actually share it with the group so you guys can see an actual accounting of all of these expenses. And I give that to him every month prior to completing the requisition, so that we're on the same page, and I've captured all of the city expenses appropriately in our cash flow.
Okay, but Anjanette, the problem is that on our agenda, there are, looks like 7 items, and you've given us more than 7 items, so I'm confused.
Okay, are you talking about for the, yes. So, yes, okay, so I'm sorry, and I apologize in advance. There were a couple of invoices that had not been captured in our cash flow that I had to catch up. So last month, some of the invoices that he had on the meeting minutes weren't captured in my billings.
Okay, so if I understand you right, then we have only 7 new ones, and what you just talked about caught up with some we approved last month.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on Anjanette's monthly chart?
I did add a little bubble here on the left, just so that you could see the value of the total approved change orders to date. And that does not include the values from change order number 9 that we just discussed.
Okay. Then any other questions for Anjanette? And I think a motion is in order to approve the 7 bills shown on the agenda.
Move to approve the bills.
Second,
Any discussion? We'll go to a vote. Jason,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Kelly. Kelly? Bill?
Yes.
Terry?
yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, that passed unanimously. At this point, Craig Olson, do you have anything you want to add to our update?
Not unless there's something specific you're thinking of.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for our architectural team? Don't see any hands raised. Then Mary Ann, do you have anything to add?
No, I just wanted to say that I'm pleased about the progress of the work, and I think people are working very hard to keep the project moving on schedule and within budget, and so far so good.
Okay, thank you. Our next meeting is July 14th. It will be in the Zito room. We will be looking back at each other in person and not having to take all these roll call votes. And the August meeting will be August 11th. So please mark your calendars for both of those. Then anybody have anything else they want to bring up tonight before I take a motion to adjourn? Okay, a motion to adjourn at 6:33.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, Jason,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Terry,
yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Gail.
Yes.
I vote yes. And Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, then we are adjourned 6:33. Thank you, everyone. See you in
Thank you.
person next month.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Steve.